grab your favorite beverage, kick up your feet as you ascend with me into the joy portal of soul reflections, fresh perspectives, fun ideas, and wisdom. Light to light and heart to heart. Smile and breathe even deeper as together we will soar above the perception of all hurdles and shine brightly as the light we are. Namaste and welcome to Light, Laughter, and Lattes. My name is Geri Habstritt. I'm a medical intuitive, a Vesa quantum healer, Self-Ascension intuitive counselor, and your friend and soul connection for the next hour. So welcome everyone, and I am so glad you are all listening to my show, probably cozy in your own home right now. And today I would like to welcome, I'm talking with Sora Garrett, who otherwise known as Shining Sora. She is a life simplification guide and an author of a few books. Her latest book called Simply Enough, Creating Space for What Matters. And so I believe this is extremely timely because we've all been created a lot of space to really look inside and to find out what matters. And she is going to share with us a little bit about when happy people get depressed. And this is something that Sora has just walked through, and now she's on the other side and has lots of wisdom to share with all of us. So welcome, Sora.
Hi, Geri. Thank you for having me on the show.
You are welcome. And I want to share with everyone, because I love these little synchronicity things, that you're the shining Sora, like a star, and that you are from Star, Idaho.
Yeah.
I love that. So, how are you anyways during this time? I know there's a lot of people going through ups and downs, and the creative people I think are really like nestled in creating, and other people who are going in fear are really going in fear. Some people are going through the dark night. Some people are awakening. I think at the end of all of this, we're all going to open up our doors and we're going to see a new world, and there's going to be new beings that are going to walk out. What do you think?
Well, it sounds like I think there's all kind of layers as always whenever we have a big challenge in the world. And, fortunately, I went through this experience we're going to talk about before a lot of the kind of the trauma and the fear and the challenging times really kind of hit. And I feel like in some ways what I went through was preparing me for this time. And I've heard a number of other people talk about that as well. Like somehow we were getting prepared to like really hold the space for this experience that we're having with the virus to be useful as something to lift us rather than, really taking us into a place of paralyzed or, not. And I feel like the world in general is, even though there's a lot of fear going on, the response has been also very positive. It might just be that that's where my focus is, but,
No, I so agree with you. And I love the point that you added about you were being prepared, because it brought me right back to a time where I lost my brother when he was 24. And I was guided to read a book that was absolutely a lifesaver for me when he died. And I remember reading the book thinking I'm being prepared for something. And I told several people, read this book. Do you feel like you're being prepared for something? And then he passed away, and this book was really my savior. And it was a book about when people die, where they go, and that they don't really die, their soul goes on. So it just goes to show that there's greater stuff happening on the universe. And so our souls knew that this moment was going to come, that it was on its way energetically. And you're right, I believe we all were prepared in some sort of way. And so I love that you brought that up.
And I think in general, just the way so many the spiritual communities have been, you know, just over the years, not even just in the more recent times, but if I read something the other day that said we were made for these times. You know, we have been being prepared, and now this is one of those times that, you know, that have been prepared for us almost. It's like for us to bring forward the spiritual gifts that we've created, and, you know, as I do in my work with the simplification, the spaciousness that we've learned to live in, so that we don't go to fear immediately. We go to love, and we go to holding our vibration rather than getting sucked into the mass consciousness. Because, you know, like we've all been preparing that, and now it's time for it to get tested. And that's when we really know whether we've done our work or not.
Right. Right. It's those tests, right? Except we're not getting a grade this time. We feel it emotionally, whether how we're doing.
I said that when I wrote something about instead of an antidote for the virus, I wrote about the antidote for fear. And one of the things I said is, when something like this comes up, we basically know how much emotional clutter we have in our system, because if we've cleared it out and we're pretty spacious and pretty much in the field of love, we don't get bombarded as much, and not quite so much will come up. But if we have things that we need to clear out, then this kind of opportunity is what, you know, will stir it up and help us release it. I think it's a tool.
Absolutely. And I think it's worth adding too that I don't know about you, but I am completely 100% disconnected from all media and news sources. And I think it would be really hard to not be in fear if you have an umbilical cord of your energy connected to it. So I think that's kind of a key thing. I think you know, you'll have to answer. I don't know. Are you disconnected from it, or?
Well, let's talk about that, because that's really interesting. I have chosen to not put my attention there. You know, like I don't watch the news. I don't read, you know, all the latest headlines. I end up seeing things on social media, but my husband is like totally wanting to be up on all the latest information, the facts, you know, and everything. And so I kind of, even though I'm choosing to not put a lot of my attention there, I'm getting it through my partner. And what I got to, this was really interesting for me, because I went on a spiritual, you know, some kind of a rising our vibration, and we're going to be in the field of gratitude. And I ended up having kind of a interesting reaction to it, because I felt like in the way that some people were doing it, they were discounting the factual, you know, and discounting the people that were wanting to stay in awareness. And I feel like it's so much important to do both. And so, like, it's really important for us to have the facts, and then to somehow transmute those through the love and through holding the other level. But what I found in myself is, if I can hold my faith and my belief and my not getting into fear, even in the face of a lot of things that are kind of scary, then I'm even doing a higher level of work, if that makes sense. It's just, you know, because I used to feel like in a way it was avoiding it if I just totally unplugged. And I think it's important to not avoid, but to really be aware, and to do the not getting hooked work that we're here to do. Is that
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
hearing where you're at. What I found is if I even look at, I've chosen not even to open emails, a lot of them, because I've discovered that many of them that I were getting were fear-based. And a lot of the people that I got emails from before anything even started was, okay, it's around the area and it's coming. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, these people forgot that they're creators. They're already talking about it's coming and it's not even here yet. And so it's like, okay, I don't want to tie into that. I'm very
Yeah.
conscious about what I energize with my energy, where I lend it. So I don't want to lend or add my energy to anything that I don't want to grow. And so I'm like meticulous about my focus. And
Hmm.
so I've been using this period of time where, if there's anyone even on my social media that talks about it, we'll call it it right now. I just, I don't, I usually block them out or something because I don't want to add any energy at all to that. But with that being said, I'm very aware of what's going on, and my intention is that whatever I need to know will cross my path. And so, and it's happened. Everything I've needed to know has shown up. Someone's told me, or it's found its way to me. So I have as much awareness that I need without having to create a cord of energy to that, so I'm being funneled. If that makes
Hmm.
any sense.
Yeah, it does totally. And, obviously we have a little different situation because I have somehow have this connection with my spouse who
Oh, sure.
needs to somehow create that, and so I can get both sides of it.
Yep.
And it is interesting that, and it's kind of the conversation about depression, if we get into that in a minute.
Yes.
It's, it is really, I think what you say is important. And what I realize is that if I don't stay really clean, as you're saying, with
Hmm.
with that, both the intention to stay in that field and also really being conscious and intentional with our choices, then it's really easy to get sucked into the emotional field of the world. And I feel like, in a way, that's what happened to me when I went through this depression experience. I call it my sabbatical with depression last month because I basically had to go into it. I was feeling it so much, and I chose, rather than, well, it chose me to just really go deeply into the feeling. And what I realized is some of what I was experiencing was not necessarily mine. It was more of a global energy I was feeling. But somehow I was choosing to be one of um, the clearing points for that. And but it's hard sometimes when you're a sensitive person.
Hmm.
I consider myself a highly sensitive person, not just highly creative, but also I feel deeply, and I get impacted by not just empathic things, but just by a lot of chaos that's in the world. And when I go to the grocery store, when I was going at the start of this, and you were seeing all the people, so worried and getting so many, canned goods and things like that, um, it's hard not to get sucked into that energy. So I think what you're saying, what you are, Geri, is you're such a light worker, and you're so holding that vibration that that's the way you're doing it, is by staying completely disconnected from feeding that part.
Well, and I would be like you if I did connect. It would turn me probably upside down.
Mm-hmm.
I can hold a higher view in that I'm able to see the gift of everything, because once you've gone through enough fires, you learn to find the gift in the fire, because every fire is a transformation. And
Yeah.
so I've walked through so many challenges, and they're all have been the violet flame, right? Transformation. And then out the other side is always you're feeling better, you're stronger, you're brighter, you feel better. So I see this as a gigantic violet flame, but it's also like a big, almost like a black hole.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're extremely sensitive, it's gonna call to you. It's gonna pull you in very easily. And so I think there's this like the balance of the world, right? The yin and the yang. And so it's the dark energy that's making the light energy be able to shine brighter. And so there needs to be both of it. So if there's a lot of challenging happening on one end, then there's a lot of light that needs to be happening on the other end, right? And so it's like you almost have to decide which end you're going to hang out on. Like there
Mm-hmm.
used to be a time where you could kind of be in the middle if you wanted, and you could do the dance and you could, but now I'm finding it's like, no, I need to be over here to help balance what's going on over there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a dance, and I think everyone navigates it in their own way, what works best for them, and so that all you can really do is, try this or that, and then notice how you feel, right? That's our indicator. How do you feel? And then if you, based on how you feel, you can make a new decision next time how you want to navigate. So let's talk a little bit about the depression piece, because I think that's a topic that's really is probably going to hit home with a lot of people right now. I think this is really this going in, right, going into our houses, and our houses are a representation of our hearts. Home is where the heart is. And a going home, going to the heart is really a call. Our souls are being called, or we're being called to go in and get really in touch with ourselves, our soul energy. And that can trigger depression in a lot of people. And so what triggered, because I know you had like written a book, and then right after the book, this happened. Am I right?
About a month, yeah, about a month after I had my launch. And so part of me, was looking at it and feeling like it was a normal process because I had poured a lot of energy into birthing this book. And my witness part was looking at it and going, oh, you're having postpartum depression. You just
Right.
you just created this huge, right? Birthing a book is I think, a lot of work. And for some reason, I made this one really a lot of work because I went through like a couple different birthing cycles within it, and I was really doing the work as I was writing the book. So at first I just kind of looked at it and went, okay, this is normal. I'm just going to be gentle with myself and let myself really go through this. And then, about a week into it, I thought, this isn't really shifting. I need to look at this more deeply. And what happened is actually write about it in 3 parts. And the first part of it, I woke up. I had felt frozen for at least a week and just like really numb. Like in depression, you're not feeling anything. You're just feeling numb and apathetic. And what I say is like there's this haze over everything and nothing seems to matter. So I just wrote this book, Create Space for What Matters. And then all of a sudden, nothing was mattering to me. Like I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find my passion or my joy. And I am the queen of positivity. And I'm always talking about joy. And I have a group called Joyful Simplicity. And I'm like going, oh my God, I'm not walking my talk. This is, who is this that's in this body right now? And all of a sudden, one morning, I woke up and my pillow was wet. I felt like I had somehow some dream, and I didn't remember it, but something had moved my emotion in my sleep, and my pillow was wet. I had been crying in my dream, And I woke up, and the first thing I thought of was, oh my gosh, I'm so relieved. The emotion is finally flowing, because being in a depression and having no emotion for me is worse than crying every day, like having the emotion moving, because I know then at least it's moving through me. It's not stuck. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I got up and I went, I am going to go deeper into this. And I write about this in the first section called Don't Give Up. And when I got up like at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I wrapped myself in blankets, and I put myself down onto my favorite couch and just sat there and started praying. And I just, was praying, and nothing, I felt like nothing was really coming. So I put on my headset and turned on some music, and I'm listening to this song. I'm kind of listening to the vibration of it, and I started feeling my spine kind of moving, and I just felt like, the music was moving me more than I was listening to it. But all of a sudden, I started hearing these lyrics repeating, and I think I heard them about 3 or 4 times, and then I finally got what they were saying. And they were saying, the line was, don't give up. Your life isn't over. You have more to say. And it was
this was the lyrics in the song?
That was the lyrics in the song. Don't give up. Your life isn't over. You have more to say. And I wrote in my book, I said, I don't miss the synchronicity of that message. I get up and start writing. And that was what the first step out of my depression was for me, because for me, writing is a way that I understand what I'm experiencing, and then what I can share out to others, because I am a messenger, and that's part of the way that I give messages is through my writing. But when I went back to find that song, because usually what I do is push, a thumbs up or something when I hear something I like. I couldn't find it anywhere, and I have still I'm not been able to find that song on my favorite channels that I was listening to.
So this is like a random Pandora or Spotify song.
Yeah,
Just
it was
happened to
coming on in
play.
Pandora, just played, and I have not been able to find it. So anyway, it's like that title came when happy people get depressed, because I am mostly, a queen of positivity. I love always bringing the light to whatever is happening. And, but somehow this experience was that I really needed to go into it to clear it, not just to clear it from my own field, but to clear it from the space that I'm holding for the world right now, because that, what I was able to do once I went through it, and I went in and out of it for another week or so. That's why I wrote it in 3 parts, because it was kind of a evolution through this. And then when I went into the final phase of it, I came out with my practice. It's like, this is the way you go through anything. You don't, it's like, it is important for us to go through the emotional piece, but we are not the emotions. We are not that. And it's just like, watching the weather come through. When you learn how to hold the, I call it clutter clearing. When we clear the emotional clutter from our field, then we're a witness to things as they're moving through, which is the same thing that's happening in the world right now. This is moving through. Things are being cleared. And unfortunately, some of it is very hard for people. But it's still only, it's the earth level things that are happening. It's not the real lasting, which is the spirit.
Right. So what are so you said you came out with some steps on how to move through something like this. Do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, so the third part of my series, and happiness, when happy people get depressed, I love saying that because it's kind of like, we do sometimes all of us get, so I'm not trying to say if you have chronic depression, this isn't necessarily a solution for you because you might need more support. And I do say reach out if you have something that you need, this not something that you can deal with on your own. You need to reach out and get support. But for me, I actually used, and this actually was one of the things that came in my meditation too, was a takeoff on Elizabeth Gilbert's Eat, Pray, Love.
Mm-hmm.
And I called it Meet, Play, and Be Love. And I had so much fun with this because it was kind of like going on a journey through, like she did, to different countries, but I was just going to go in a different way. And so when I say meet, and then I compared it to her eat, I said it's kind of tempting to eat our way through negative emotions. But that's not the solution, right? So
no, but a lot of people pick that.
yeah,
and oftentimes it's unconscious. They're
right.
unhappy and they don't really know they're unhappy, but I'm going to fill up whatever this is with food. That'll work for now.
And I'm worried because I think that is some of what's going on right now with people being
Hoarding.
Kind of, well, the hoarding, but also being in their houses and they're not used to being stuck there. And so they turn to food. But,
Sure.
so I said, I've definitely been craving my share of comfort foods lately. But I find that meeting the heaviness with full on compassion and acceptance is much more productive. So for me, the meet has to do with not resisting the emotion, because when we resist it, it might stay there at a lower level until it blows up in some way that we're, not controlling. But when we meet whatever we're feeling, whether it's depression or anger or resentment or jealousy or, whatever it is that we're feeling in our body field, when we meet it and acknowledge it, that's the first step always. So I laugh because I said, as I meet my depression fully, I discover a few lingering hurts that I didn't even know were there, stored in the garage of my mind. So I do what any life simplification guide would do. I go out and start organizing my physical garage. And I laugh at that because it's really true. One of the things that I do for my emotional clutter clearing is I work on the physical level. And it's, you and I talked about this last time we talked, is
yes,
there's so much energy around clearing our physical stuff right now. And I teach people to do that in a very conscious and very bite-sized way because I think it can get overwhelming, but it's up for everybody right now. It's like, okay, we're home, we may as well clear the clutter. And when you're clearing physical clutter, some of your emotional clutter is going to come up. And when you're clearing your emotional clutter and you go work on the physical, it can help move the energy. So that's what, that's one of my best ways to try to move both energy, both physical and emotional energy, is to just start clearing layers.
I like that. I love the meat. That's awesome. And it reminds me of a practice that I just taught on my last show, I believe, called the safe practice, which is when you can use it when you're triggered anywhere or when you feel emotions coming up. It's to stop, acknowledge, feel, and then expand through it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of exactly what you're saying with the meat.
Yeah.
To meet the emotion and acknowledge it and not tuck it away.
Yeah. And when I did, I a couple things. One, I had kind of felt like with my push with the book that I'd probably exhausted my adrenals a little bit. So, I was kind of aware of that physical level adjustment that needed to happen. But when I sat and really sat with the energy of it, one of the messages that came in was that I needed to start doing more oxytocin breathing. And you know about that, the oxytocin hormone, if people don't know what that is the energy of joy. And that's, and there's some ways to stimulate that. And one of them is with laughter. Another one of them is with hugs. So I'm like going, oh, look at all the people not being able to hug right now. We're lowering our oxytocin, and so we need to find ways to give ourselves hugs. And, sex is the other way that raises oxytocin. So, but if you don't have somebody that you can, just find a way to, to really bring that alive. And really, there's actually a really simple breath that you can do, because what it's doing is oxytocin is stimulating the vagus nerve system, and the vagus nerve touches all the major organs in the body. And so you actually can go with a kind of humming breath. So like you take a breath in, and then when you're breathing out, you're going to hum a bit like, ah, and kind of feel it vibrating in you. And you can actually do kind of a brain humming that does the same thing. And there's some of that on YouTube if somebody wants to go find it. But stimulating that nerve system is really powerful for depression, anxiety, and actually some very physical level things like diabetes and, a lot of different things that can be helped by doing that.
So do they have a name for this breath?
Well, if you Google oxytocin breath, you'll find a lot of things.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, or the vagus nerve system, and that's VAGUS, vagus.
Okay. Yeah. The breathing is incredibly powerful. I've gone to several pranayama classes that were just no yoga at all. It's just an hour of breathing. And it's incredible what it can do. Even like the alternate nostril breathing, great for balancing the brain. And so, yeah, you can Google any of these kind of breaths, and what a great thing to be able to do when you're sitting at home. I didn't even have time to do these breaths before, unless I would get it in a class that I was actively going to.
Yeah.
So is that the play part of your meat play?
So no, so that was still all the meat. That's what came. And then when that started coming through, I got this message. It was your energy, your body needs some serious play. And I went, that makes me laugh to start playing. But when I started writing about play, what I realized, sometimes we think of play as, well, go out and blow bubbles and hula hoop and, and ski and do all these like physical move away from your work. But what came to me as I started writing about it is play is engagement. And it's engaging in something that brings you passion or that brings you joy. And, for some people, well, for all of us, that's going to look different because what feels joyful to each of us is different. So when you think about play, it doesn't mean like you're going to go out and play hopscotch or, do something with a child necessarily. It's about finding out what really brings you joy and what really brings you like more that energy of passion. Like, what does it really bring you alive? And then do more of that.
So what did you find to do? What was your play?
Well, so I joked at first, I did go get my hula hoop out and I started stringing, like really moving that. But what I realized is that two things are really important for me: engagement with the people that I'm quote teaching, and impact, that I feel like what I'm putting out there is making some kind of difference. And so what I realized is part of what had put me into this, I wasn't selling as many books as I thought I would. Like I thought this book was something that everyone was going to see the benefit of and find useful. And as I started sharing it, I wasn't getting the numbers that I had kind of set an expectation up, inside me without realizing it, without wanting to do that. I still had. And I wasn't getting the engagement. And so what I started looking at are, how can I shift what I'm doing so that it has more of a direct impact. And this funny thing is one of the messages I got is I needed to go out and be with people more. And so I started doing that, I went to a networking group. I showed up at, a church that I haven't gone to for a while. And that was like 1 week. And then we got the lockdown. So I was laughing but it was enough to shift my energy just to know that. And, so that was my play, was just realizing that I needed to hold the whole thing in a more playful light. Like, this is not hugely, like we're getting a chance to get all the messages that I wrote about in my book in a different way, and just to realize that it's going to happen however it happens. People are going to get the message. And I just need to hold this lightly and play with it. So one of the things I did is start taking, it's like I'm going to take my book out into the world and go, where's Sora's book this week? And it's, so it might, and just do some things that are more fun for
like
me.
Like where's Waldo?
Yeah, kind of like that one.
Put a little Waldo hat on it.
Yeah. So one of my friends took a picture of it, like she was cradling it like it's a baby, and I put that on Instagram, and I've had so many people liking that post. So yeah, so it's just kind of holding more lightness around everything. And then, which basically, once you start doing that, it moves you to the third part of the formula, which is, I actually added B onto love. So it's not just love, it's be love, which, as you know, Geri, it means to embody the energy of love.
Yes.
And basically let love move us to be a solution where, just like you said earlier in this conversation, you're going to find, what's yours is going to show up in front of you, and then you're going to attend to that. And that's really the way love moves us, is that when we get spacious, when we turn off the distractions and we unplug from the emotional clutter that's in the world, and we just become this spaciousness, love is going to put things in our path that are for us to see to. And that's when I started tuning into that energy, like just be love, be love, be love. I just want to cry when I start realizing what happened, because I wrote, my dog jumps on my lap and invites me to pet her, and I do. A friend reaches out to let me know she's thinking of me. I reach back. The telephone rings. Another friend needs a helping hand. I rise up and give it. Love begins to move me in the simplest ways to move myself into giving. And as I give, my energy opens and even more love comes pouring through.
Oh, beautiful.
So that's, yeah. And basically that's what it took to kind of take the final residual depression and just like opened it up. And I feel like there's been so much love pouring through since I allowed myself to go through that experience, and and trust that it was for something, for some purpose. And that, like we started this, it's like we're here for a reason right now. We've been prepared for this time. And part of it is remembering that we are love in action, and we are the solution, showing up in very simple ways, often different than what our mind might think it's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Always different than what our mind. Our mind likes to figure it out and make sense of it, but our mind doesn't know love. It just knows order. So
Yeah.
mind is really no good in that department, even though it wants to be.
Yeah, I said the mind might be able to think about this human emotion we call love, but only the heart knows love.
Yeah. So what? So and maybe you explained it pretty well with the pieces that you wrote. What does be love mean to you?
Yeah, I started that way and said it's about embodying what love is to me is goes way beyond the human emotion of love. Love is in a way another word for God to me, or
Uh-huh.
the expanded universal spirit that we call God or divine or unity or whatever it's called. I feel like love is the expression on earth of that energy. And the more I can be empty of anything besides that, the more that divine love comes through me. And so, being loved for me is like, it's like I am this vessel, and the more clear my vessel can be, the more love just comes through me. And that's the experience of being that love. I don't know. It's a little hard to describe, isn't
Yeah.
it?
No, 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 not. I like to hear people's description of it. Have you had children?
Well, and I did say before I go there, it's like as I embody love by showing up for whatever is before me with an open heart, giving without thinking, I become a vessel for the holy to work through. So I think that's a more direct way of saying what I just said.
Oh, sure, sure.
But yes, I have had two children.
Okay.
I do
So,
still have them, but I had the
so,
experience of having them.
because whenever I think of that pure love, it takes me to the birth of my first child. And so, not that there wasn't enormous love with all of them, it's just the first child catches you off guard, or it did me anyways, it, at the level of love that I could experience that I didn't even know existed. Did you
Yeah.
did you have that same experience or?
Yes, of course. I think all mothers, it's one of those hard to describe things. And then I had it again when I held my grandson for the first time. And in some ways that almost was, well, I was older and more conscious at the time, so I probably
Yeah.
knew it, but I also feel like there was sometimes with being a first time mother, there's also a little bit of fear involved with like, oh, what am I going to do with this life that's been given to me, And, so but that's definitely one of the ways to experience that. And then the other way is to really do the expansive work and connect with our souls and what's beyond the body. And
How long was this depression process that you went through?
um, I think the intense part of it was probably only a week, but I feel like I kind of all of February is a little bit of a blur for me, and I
Like
came,
a month.
that was like that month was where I just felt like I was in some level of apathy for part of it,
And
probably only about 2 weeks. And, and because I am conscious of it, and because I have a partner who wouldn't let me stay there, he's really good at helping me laugh even when I'm depressed. So,
oh, nice.
I luckily have a support system and also some ongoing connections with people that bring me through emotions pretty quickly. But what I worry about sometimes is the people that are isolated, and especially now with the Do you have a better word for lockdown? Because I don't like that word. What do you call it? Like a, I think
I've been calling it a timeout.
time out. Yeah, it's our time out, our spiritual time out, or our human time out, actually, because it's
Or let's call
basically
it a retreat.
or reset. Like you said that one other time, it's like a reset. And so we're taking a human reset, but on a spiritual level, we're having a chance to activate a lot. But some of the people that are isolated don't necessarily have the spiritual resources or the
Right.
connections. And so I think when we go into our prayer space and our wanting to see what we can do for the world from wherever we are, those are the people that I'm trying to hold in compassion and light and just see whether there's anything that might be possible, to help.
So tell me, did you just wake up one day and say, "Ah, I feel better now"? How was your coming out of this experience?
Well, the writing, doing this 3-part series was part of my process, and I think I wrote these 3 articles over the space of a week. So it kind of was my second part of the article was actually called Welcome Depression. And do you know that Rumi poem, this being human is a guest house?
Oh, I have a book of his poems, and so
Yeah.
I've probably read it. You could
Well, let me
share.
just read it real quick if we have time,
Okay.
because it's like a really, so
Oh, I love Rumi.
that was my second part. And anyway, I can't, and basically then the third part, once I wrote the third part, it was like this shift happened. And when I got into that be love energy and wrote about it, the shift just happened, and it was like I didn't need to go back anymore. It put me into that next level, and it really opened me into the expansive place that I feel like has just kept going. But let's hear from Rumi real quick. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be cleaning you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Thank you, Rumi.
Oh, wow. Love that, huh?
And how perfect for you with your light laughter and latte, because meet them all at the door laughing and invite them in.
Yeah, well, and it's like take a look at everything inside, all the corners, and you might not like everything that's there, but meet them all, you know? Don't
Yeah.
tuck them away any longer.
Well, so what I did in this article, which was really fun for me too, was I said, okay, depression, I'm not so happy that you're here, but as long as you're here, let's talk. What would you like to say?
There you go.
And I went
Well,
back and forth with me and depression for a little bit. And that was, and so that was kind of my playful way of playing with the emotion,
sure.
because writing is play for me. So
Yeah, well, you wrote your way out of it, it sounds like.
yeah, it was my tool. That was part of my tool. And it's why so many people use journaling, I think, for going through. But I haven't actually written I don't longhand write like they tell you you're supposed to. I don't anymore, because when I have my fingers to the keyboard, things channel through me more
Faster, okay.
seamlessly, than longhand writing.
Okay. I think I have actually stacks of journals.
Yeah.
So, and I know that's something that a lot of people don't like to do. And it does take some time, but now we have that time to go inside, and boy, have I gotten a lot of value. You know, if you don't have the resources to go see someone when you're going through something, or, especially now it's even hard to probably see someone unless it's online. A pen to paper is the best way I know of to pull yourself out of something.
Yeah. And music, putting on
Yes.
some music, because even if you start with some music that maybe is close to the tempo that you're feeling, like a little bit of blues or something, and then just kind of like let it move. And one of my favorite channels on Pandora right now is called Orb Weavers Radio. Have you ever heard of them?
No,
It's
I
called,
haven't.
yeah, ORB Weavers. So Orb Weavers Radio. And I don't know how I found it, but I really like the music on that. And that's the channel that I was on when I found that, when I got that direct message from Source.
I love that. Well, I'm going to try that. I've been having a lot of fun watching at-home concerts. So all the people I know that are musicians, and even like Melissa Etheridge has been doing concerts in her home every day for like the last 14 days. And you can go on Facebook and watch them in their homes, and they're wearing regular clothes. They don't have the makeup on. People from all over the world are connecting, asking, requesting songs. And I'm like, wow, I'm feeling this oneness that's coming from this on a whole new level. I mean, everyone's at home. It doesn't matter how much money you have or what your status is or whatever. Everyone's in the same place. So it's like so all these people that have had patterns of going to their studios or whatever, everyone's at home now, and we're connecting at home in a way that we've never connected before.
Oh,
And
awesome.
yeah, and so she shared on one of her Facebook Live sessions that she had gone through cancer, and through her cancer experience, she had actually learned about the oneness of life, and that how love is at the core of everything. And so she's got all these new songs, and one she wrote was A Little Bit of Me. There's a little bit of me and a little bit of you. And so I've been singing and dancing to that song for the past 3 days.
Oh, and who is this again, Jerry?
Melissa Etheridge.
Okay, I don't know who it is. I don't know her. Good.
Oh yeah, so you can find her and you can join her, and I've been a part of several other Facebook concerts that are happening. So that's one of my little playthings that I've been doing.
Awesome.
And just loving that I could send a message to Melissa Etheridge if I want, and via Facebook.
Cool.
So how did you? Well, we got about I don't know. We've got about 3 minutes left or so. How'd you feel once you came out of the depression? Did you feel different?
Yeah, I think I've said it. I feel and had felt more spacious, and just like really even more shining. I signed one of them, shining again, Sora. I feel like, I just feel really expansive, and the word I use is spacious. So it's like when I'm clear and clean and my house is clear and clean, then it's more spacious. So
So your star got polished just a little bit more through this, huh?
yeah. I am taking, can I just real briefly do a shout out to something that I'm starting with my book?
Please
Uh,
do.
I'm actually, so Simply Enough, Create Space for What Matters. And it's a really simple, spacious book, but it has a lot in it. I actually tried to make it really simplified, but the depth of the questions there's something you could journal to for probably a year. But I decided I'm going to start I'm calling it a play group and master flow class. So instead of a mastermind group, it's a master flow. And basically the goal is that we're going to get all of our spaces shining. And that's mental, emotional, and some physical. And I'm going to be just doing invite only kind of a group for this first one, but I will be offering it again probably in another couple months. And it's a good way to go through the process with a support system.
So lovely. Where can people find you, Sora?
Probably my website's the best, soragarrett.com. And I'm also Sora Garrett on Facebook. And I'm starting to do a little bit more with Instagram too. That's been kind of fun.
Okay. Well, awesome. This was a lot of fun. And I'm grateful that you came on today and shared a little bit of your inspiration and the process that you went through. Hopefully that'll help people out there who are listening who may be going through the same process. And so thank you so much, Sora, and thank you everyone for listening today.
Thank you, Geri.
You bet. Have a great week, everyone. Namaste.
Are you ready to make joy and well-being number one in your life? Are you ready to live the life you've always wanted to live? Then you have found the right place. Joyful Living, a VESA Quantum Healing Center. Hi, my name is Geri Habstritt, and I've been an VESA medical intuitive, quantum healer, and self-ascension intuitive counselor for 10 years, and have mastered the many tools of self-ascension to assist you to live your best life ever. Are you needing assistance with emotional or physical healing? How about a medical intuitive scan, EFT, or an VESA chakra balance? Do you have repetitive issues that keep reappearing time after time? How about a cosmic life regression session? Are you wondering what your unique gifts are and wanting some deeper insight on your life? Or maybe you are getting ready to make some big decisions and you want guidance. How about an ascended numerology reading? Maybe you are unsure what you need. That's okay too. I offer free 15-minute consultations and can work with you in person or online. You can contact me by going to the host page on the Oneness Talk Radio website and clicking on Geri Habstritt. There you will find all my contact information. Wishing you great joy on your journey.
Oneness Talk Radio. Hip, fresh, fun. Tune in to an honest portal of positivity 24/7. Experience unique talk radio from all around the planet, perfectly mixed with music that enchants your soul. Discover oneness moments as you relax into 3 to 5 minutes of divine inspiration. Claim your oneness today. OnenessTalkRadio.com. One world, one voice. Expand your vision.